7 on the channel. We are Busch Series Racing at the Dodge Raceway, the original Clash at the Coliseum. Of course, for those of you that don't know, NASCAR on EA Sports, when EA Sports was creating NASCAR games, had a fantasy track called the Dodge Raceway. Well, that is where we are at here today. And why I say it's like the Clash at the Coliseum, well, if you've watched NASCAR over the last few years, they've gone to the LA Coliseum on a short track around a football field, in a football stadium, and that's exactly what this is. And this obviously took place well before what we have seen in recent years. And yeah, I'm excited for this one. This is always one of my favorite actually probably is my very favorite fantasy track on not only this game but all the EA games growing up. Always like short track racing. You know, that's number one. Number two, it's around a football field. Number three, I like football. It gives it a stadium feel. You know, why not? This is a very quick race, 300 laps on a track that's about a third of a mile in length. So it's not a very big track, and it's going to be a pretty quick race, I would have to imagine. 300 laps here is really not going to take very long. But this is our race for tonight, so full race. We will be starting at the tail end of the field. No practice, no qualifying, guessing on the setup, but honestly I have a pretty good idea as to what to do setup-wise, just compared to how I usually run on short tracks. Especially the flatter short tracks seem to be my strong suit. So let's get into this one here today. NASCAR Penske Cup Series Racing, Jackson Thomas, Matthew Dorter, Bruno, Billy Kramer, Ryan Berwick, Wade, thanks for tuning in. Everybody got 10 likes on the stream before the race begins. Awesome to see. Here we go. Jimmy Johnson on the pole. We are racing at the Dodge Raceway here tonight. A Wednesday night NASCAR. A little bit of contact on the opening lap. First of what is probably going to be a contact-filled race around this very, very short racetrack. Starting this far back in the field, we're like a half a track behind Jimmy Johnson already. Now Boris said out to the lead on a short track. A non-road course, Boris said, leads the lap. So Johnson led lap 1 and 2. Boris said leads lap 3. Got to try to stay on the bottom and make sure we be very patient getting back to the gas when trying to get underneath the car. It's not a battle to try to clear them immediately. It's just a battle to try to get positioning on them and stay on the inside to try to get the next car who's on the top lane, because there's going to be quite a few cars on the top lane here in the initial start. Of course, with this being a double file start. Size E, thanks for tuning in as well. Of course, racing is Clint Boyer on this season. Second in the point standings to Tony Stewart. Danny O'Quinn Jr. is now leading. 3 different leaders in these first 7 laps already. Danny O'Quinn Jr. leads a lap. So first Jimmy Johnson from the pole, then Boris Said led, and now Danny O'Quinn Jr. is leading. And Clint Boyer's up to 27th. I'd have to imagine this is going to be a race that we should be able to win. And hopefully we get up there soon enough we can lead the most laps easily, which I would imagine we can. Way too sharp of an angle that time. Can get back to the gas where I wanted to. Feels like the LA Coliseum. Yeah, it basically is. The only difference is we have all 43 cars on track right now instead of just half a field like they've done in the main event of the Clash the last couple of years. Already breaking the top 20. You know, it's a fast track when 12.7 seconds is as fast as I've ran, and we've been in heavy traffic for a while. Danny O'Quinn Jr.'s led about the last 8 laps. Definitely a surprise to see him up there. That is an actual driver, by the way, not a fantasy driver, for those of you that might not know. And the 50 for Roush Fenway Racing. Clint Boyer, meanwhile, up to 12th. It's going to spoil Danny O'Quinn Jr.'s probably best career start to a NASCAR race ever. The difference between here and the LA Coliseum, you don't have that wall, you know, right on the apron, essentially, making the track even tighter. And that is a lot of the reason why I'm able to make passes. They're not going down there. There's enough grip there. I'll catch too much of it sometimes like that, and I angle it off kind of weird, and the car wants to shove because I didn't hit my apex, essentially. .735 the last lap. Greg Biffle on the outside of the racetrack. Boyer gets by him and Aaron Crocker, and now up to 7th for the number 2. I mean, this has been an extremely quick drive through the field. I've only made contact with 2 cars. It was very minimal. Still about 2.4 seconds off the race lead, trying to get by this 118 car for 6th. Getting a good drive off the corner. There we go. That was a lot better than the couple corners before that. Able to pull clear. And a little bit of clean air, clean traffic for the 2. There we go. 12.698 that last lap. Tony Stewart up in 5th. We'll bump and run on Jeremy Mayfield to make the pass for 5th place there for Boyer. .630. Boyer to 4th. Oh, Boyer said blowing up. 2nd place position, said blows an engine. Has to go to the outside. If you're wondering where pit road is at with the way the infield looks, it is on the outside of the racetrack. So it is an extra long pit road. The pit lane's longer than the actual racetrack. You will go 3 laps down during green flag pit stops if you catch an ill-timed caution, so you definitely don't want a short pit at all costs. And I would assume that this is going to be a one-stop race today, but we'll run it out just to make sure before I get too ahead of myself. Danny O'Quinn Jr. in that lap traffic, but Clint Boyer has worked himself up to 2nd place, just a few car lengths off the lead. It's just going to be constant traffic this whole race. Consider where we started and where we're running. Danny O'Quinn Jr. gets into the back of the 112. Boyer trying to lead his first lap. Trying to use the lap car as a pick. Oh, a little contact. Slid a little wide too soon. Boyer leads that lap at the line. That'll be 5 bonus points, but the 50 going to cross him back over, and Boyer needs to get to the bottom quickly, and he does. And it looks like he's actually going to have a chance to lead consecutive laps. That time, Danny O'Quinn Jr. came down on him, so maybe a little payback from the 50 car. And now he's stuck on the outside. And so Boyer's now led the last 3 laps. This is a race I can definitely lap the field in. I mean, we just went from the back to the front in 36 laps. Prediction for 2024 playoffs. Man, I still like Christopher Bell for the championship right now. he makes it to the championship 4. I think he's my favorite to win the championship just based off of how good he's been on the flatter, shorter tracks this season. I mean, he's had the best car every single one. It's not even close. New Hampshire, he won. Phoenix, he dominated, won. Gateway, he had the fastest car and had an engine problem with less than 20 to go while battling for the race win with Blaney. So we get to a track like that again, which is Phoenix. Again, a race he led the most laps and won it earlier this season too. I think Bell's winning the championship. He's got to get to Phoenix first. That's going to be the big test. But he was able to do it the last 2 seasons because he's made the championship 4 2 years in a row. So, you know, that would lead me to believe he could do it again. Playoff schedule a little different this year than it's been the last couple years, at least in the first couple rounds. The first round specifically is really the only different one. Once we get into the round of 12, it's going to be practically the same as what it's been in last year, at least. Oh, that's Tony Stewart right behind us. Definitely don't want him to lead a lap. I just automatically assumed Clint Boyer was pulling away. That is not the case. 3 wide just up ahead of us. Luckily, Boyer was paying enough attention to try to keep the bottom and keep from Tony Stewart getting around him. It's battle for the early season championship here between the 2 and the 33. The way last Busch season went, this series specifically, I feel like we got to be thinking about points race in and race out, especially with it being a season-long points format again. If we can keep Tony Stewart from leading any laps this race, that'd be perfect. Bowman Legacy run into the Champ 4. I don't know about that. Right before the Olympic break, it seemed like he won at Chicago, and then the next couple races after that, he had like top 5 cars, and it was like, okay, Bowman's back. They come back from the Olympic break, and he's been nowhere to be found again. He just had like a 3-race surge of momentum, and then it just died immediately. Boyer pinching himself down to the bottom of the racetrack after making contact with the lap car that was crowding him a bit. That is a bold prediction for a Bowman Championship 4 sighting. Future sighting. This guy's not giving me any room to make the corner. I cannot get around him. Alternate through the different camera angles here for the first time in this race. I'm leaning on him now. I mean, he's not going to give me room. We're going to create our own room. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I think Blaney would probably be my second pick to Bell. Again, very good on the flat tracks. And we saw that last year that it came in handy. He won at Martinsville, and then he won the championship at Phoenix the next week, leading a bunch of laps, finishing second. So we're seeing more speed out of the Fords on the flatter tracks lately than what we did very early in the year. Like, they were nowhere to be found at Phoenix, but they were really nowhere to be found at most tracks early in the season. And then you look at the flatter tracks they have one at, you know, Joey Logano dominated at North Wilkesboro, and then, you know, Blaney winning, or would have won at Gateway if he didn't run out of fuel on the last lap. So it's a similar track to that of Phoenix. New Hampshire, he was running in third and got taken out on that last restart. Ended up finishing like 20-something. But he was top 3 there, too. Bill Larson, Byron Reddick. See, Byron's really cooled off quite a bit, too. He's got more playoff points than that of than Alex Bowman. So I think, you know, he's got a better chance to make it to like the round of 8, but I don't know about a championship 4. I mean, even Chase Elliott's consistency was tapering off like right before the Olympic break, and then since then he's really been non-existent too. Kyle Larson's the only guy at Hendrick Motorsports since the Olympic break's been over that has actually looked like he's had race-winning cars on a semi-regular basis. The other 3 Hendrick guys, I mean, they've been non-existent. I mean, look, Chase Elliott was running outside the top 20 the whole race at Darlington. Yeah, I know he got a top 10, but that was because of all those late race restarts. He was a lap down outside the top 20 for most of the day. Yeah, I don't even trust him right now, honestly. Larson's the only Chevy driver that I trust making a Championship 4 run right now, to be completely honest. Here's a lot of Toyotas up there. You know, a Reddick, a Hamlin, a Bell. Like, I could see any one of those 3 easily taking up a Championship 4 spot. I think it's those 3, Blaney and Larson. Honestly, I think those are the 5 favorites for the championship. And Hamlin losing those playoff points with that Bristol engine issue, I think that's going to cost him a Championship 4 spot. I think my Championship 4 is going to be Reddick, Larson, Blaney, Bell. And that's my Championship 4. I just feel like those have been the 4 best drivers. You know, and then, again, Hamlin would be right there with those guys as far as, like, the 4 fastest over the second half of the summer into the playoffs and/or all season. No, Hamlin's case, he's really the only one of those guys that have had consistent race-winning speed like all year. I guess Bell, considering he won the 4th race of the season too, but Hamlin, it seems like it's every kind of racetrack outside of road courses. This 118 car is now not giving Clint Boyer a lot of room. Boyer finally makes the pass. So we are halfway out of gas. It is going to be interesting if we can make it all the way to lap 150. Obviously, you have to hope you can make it to lap 150 if you're Clint Boyer. Otherwise, you're in a situation where you may have to pit twice. And if everybody has to pit twice, then you're really in trouble. A 3-second lead. John Fleming and Michael Turner, thanks for tuning in as well. I'll tell you what, these lap cars, they've been a pain. Not all of them. Really only like 3 of them, but the 3 that have been, just not getting any room to make the corner. There you go. Wide my arc way out. Finally got underneath him and made a pass. If Bubba keeps his ride next year, and hearing he might be out, I would imagine they would keep him for next year. Who would replace him? Like that would be my thing. Is there somebody you could replace him with that's better? And I know there's like, you know, people that hate Bubba Wallace and be like, oh, there's a lot of people that are better. No, I mean, like, generally, like, in the Toyota development program, like, who would be better that you don't already have? Because, you know, obviously they just picked up Chase Briscoe. He'll be taking the 19 car, so, I mean, you already picked up him. Of who is available, I don't know who would take that spot. Corey LaJoie ain't taking that spot, I'll tell you that much. And then you look at the Xfinity series, and there's Chandler Smith, but I've even mentioned it on the channel that I don't think Chandler Smith, for one, is Cup Series ready. For two, the only races he's won on is short tracks, which, you know, is a good discipline to be good at, but with the next-gen car not racing well on short tracks, those are just kind of track position racetracks anyway, so strategy-based racetracks until they get the package fixed. So I think he'll be fine for next year. But when you look into free agency markets, like going forward with who may be in the Cup Series already, it is something, you know, obviously to look at. But yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere for next year. I really don't know who you would replace him with. I don't think there's a better option out there, honestly. He's got Cup experience, and I know he's only made the playoffs 1 year, but he does have, you know, 2 more wins in the years he didn't make the playoffs. And the team definitely needs to put a full season together. That is for certain. I mean, Corey Heim, I guess, technically would be the only guy you can think of at Toyota, but is he going to go from truck to Cup? Like, that would be the only guy at Toyota. And he does have 2 Cup races under his belt. I know it's not a lot. But at least there's something there. Like, he would literally be the only guy that I can think of. And I guess it would be a good candidate. At some point, you're going to have to wait on him, too. You know, you get Corey Heim into the Cup Series. Let's say he takes Bubba's spot. He's not making the playoffs next year either. I just don't see that happening. We just don't see rookies win races anymore. Year 2, potentially. And even then, I feel like we don't see that much anymore either. Takes a guy 3 seasons. That's part of the problem, I feel like, with Toyota, is not having enough rides available. If 2311 had a 3rd car, I guarantee they would bring Corey Heim up, and then you would have a year of experience of Corey Heim, so that way for the next season, you know, if you were to dish out on Bubba, you could put Corey Heim in the car, then maybe bring up, like, the next guy or something, and continue to develop the young crop of guys coming up, and not having that extra ride. It's a sit and wait process that I don't think a lot of teams want to do. And the teams that were doing it in recent years, you got to bite the bullet and trust that it's going to be a few-year process, you know, kind of like Hendrick Motorsports in the late 2010s, or, you know, even SHR, I know they're shutting down, but they had a complete overhaul with the driver lineup too, and they weren't going anywhere. And, you know, let's say theoretically speaking, SHR wasn't closing down, then they would still be probably a couple of years out from winning consistently again. If that. If not more. I know, look at Ty Gibbs. Yeah, exactly. And he's consistent. Obviously, you know, he's in the playoffs, but yeah, we just don't. Chase Elliott, it was his third full-time season before he won a race. And then once he won one, the floodgates opened, so. William Byron, same way. Byron didn't win a race until his third full-time Cup season. Then he won one race the next year, one race the next year, and floodgates opened. So I saw somebody else blow an engine a few laps ago. We are getting pretty low on gas. I don't think we're going to make it to lap 150. So it's looking like a two-stop race for Clint Boyer. The next question is it going to be a two-stop race for everybody? Or is it only going to be a two-stop race for the two team? Because if that's the case, then this very winnable race has turned not so winnable anymore. Contact with Reed Sorensen. Once I start to see other cars pit, I'm not going to be as nervous about it anymore because these laps obviously go by quickly. We've played 114 laps in less than a half hour. We started this stream at 6:02. And the race was probably a minute or two after that. So in about like 25 minutes, give or take, we've completed over 100 laps. I mean, him making the playoffs in his second full-time season, I think, is a great accomplishment in and of itself when you look at the fact of, especially doing it on points, when only two drivers were able to do it on points. I mean, he literally had to be top 10 in the driver standings the whole year for him to get himself in this situation to make the playoffs on points. So if I'm not mistaken, I think like Chris Buescher was like 12th in the driver standings at the end of the regular season and didn't make it to the playoffs. So, I mean, Ty Gibbs has been one of the 10 most consistent drivers all season. And he's only in his second season. So that's great. Even though he hasn't won yet, like, that's huge. So the speed is there. And he qualifies really well almost every track. I think if he gets a win this season, it's going to be on a road course. Like, the road course races, obviously that was his strongest suit in the Xfinity Series at the time, but even this season, like Coda, he was top 5 the entire race. There was another road course. It was either Sonoma or it was Chicago. He was pretty much top 5 the whole race at one of those tracks too. Might have been Chicago. Watkins Glen or the Roval, I think, could be a good... If Gibbs is going to win this year, I think it's going to come at one of those two tracks. Just like I mentioned, if Kyle Busch is going to win this year, it's going to be on a super speedway. Put my line in the sand on those two statements. So if you come back to the channel and be like, hey, this guy knows his stuff. I'm a NASCAR prediction wizard. First Cup win in his third full-time season. Yeah, I mean, that's very well possible. I'm just stating if he does win, it'll be at those two tracks. One of those two. I'm not saying he will win at one of those two. I'm just saying if he wins this season, it will be one of those two tracks. I mean, honestly, he could have a Chase Elliott 2017 season where he makes the round of 8 in his second full-time year in the Cup Series. If he does that, I think we're seeing basically what Chase Elliott has been through his Cup career. I think we're seeing the same out of Ty Gibbs, personally. I mean, it's almost like a carbon copy to one another they're consistently well. They're getting top 5s. They're getting top 10s at times. Not leading a ton of laps, but just trying to put themselves in the right position for, you know, a right circumstance late race or something of that nature. Yeah, and he's in great equipment, and he's definitely not going anywhere with the Gibbs last name, that's for sure. And I'm not just saying that just because of his name either, but he's got the results to, you know, prove it. Both at the Xfinity level and obviously here in Cup even. I mean, honestly, 2017 Chase Elliott, if Gibbs makes a deep playoff run without a win this year, it's literally the same. It's almost the same. And Elliott got his first win on a road course, so if Ty Gibbs gets his first win on a road course, like things are looking, I mean, it's looking almost identical to one another. And it's weird. I'd have to look up what their like average finishes were for that season. 2017 Chase Elliott stats versus Ty Gibbs stats in 2024. Somebody needs to get on Racing Reference during the stream and tell me what the comparisons are there. We're going to have to pit any lap. I don't know when I'm going to pull the trigger and pit. I'm scared too, because I'm scared we're going to get a caution and I'm going to get trapped like 3 laps down. Well, it'd probably be 2 down because we got a 10-second lead, but I'm scared. I'm also scared of running out of gas. So at some point we are going to have to pull the trigger. We're so close to lap 150, but I know we're not going to make it. Oh, we're out. Yeah, well, we got to pit. That was a good spot to run out, though. Forced to pit now. 4 tires, full tank of gas, no adjustments for the 2 of Boyer. I mean, at least I ran out getting off of turn 2. Pit entrance on the back straightaway. And now we just got to hope we stay green. I was scared to have to do this. I literally went as far as I could on fuel. I'm also hoping that not only we cycle all the way through, but there's some drivers that are not, or everybody, I should say, I'm hoping everybody doesn't make it to lap 150. All right. Side by side coming out of the pits, trying not to get stuffed into the tire barrels. Denny Hamlin is on the racetrack and in the lead. Clint Boyer 1 lap behind him, but in second, and Hamlin is going to pit. Well, so there you have it. The entire field has made their pit stop. There's a little contact. And we're still caution-free here at the Dodge Raceway. By the way, I don't think I was actually 10 seconds ahead. I think whoever was in second probably pitted before me, and that's why I had about a 10-second lead. I mean, laps on fuel, it looked like about, what, 137, 138? Contact with the 119 car. 3 wide and tight. The old Dodge Raceway. Just trying to stay out of everybody's way. There's cars with damage. Harvick's front bumper's kind of crinkled. That 119 car I made contact with, his front bumper's kind of crinkled. You can see the hood kind of poking up a little bit. Halfway home in a few more laps. By the way, if I remember, because this is such a short race, I will go on Racing Reference and try to read some stats about Ty Gibbs this season and Chase Elliott 2017, because I am curious to know like what they look like on paper. Granted, there's still 10 races to go this season, so obviously Chase might have a few more top 10s or something of that nature. But I wonder if it's like in the ballpark of like, okay, 10 more races from now, Gibbs going to get like 4 or 5 more top 10s, let's say, and then 24 to 26 short, yeah. I mean, the good news is everybody's short. The crazy thing is that if we don't get a caution until the second set of pit stops with like around 20 to 30 to go, and we get a caution at that point, that's going to be insane. Especially if it's in the middle of green flag stops and we get trapped a lap down that way. Boyer still tries to get through lap traffic. We alternate through the different camera angles for the final time in the race. Tried to pay stats, but yeah, you'll have to type them out. Unfortunately. There's a ton of traffic in front of us, nowhere to go. Side by side, 3 wide. As long as I kind of manage this 3-second gap, I'm perfectly okay with that, honestly. I don't need to... I thought this was a race, honestly. I could have lapped the entire field. I don't really think that anymore. 3 wide up here. Still 3. At least traffic is cleared up in front of them. And Kluver going to give Boyer a lot of room to try to make this corner, so hopefully the 2 gets around him and starts to set sail. There we go. Got that clean air. We ran our fastest lap of the race. 12.569. Got to be the calmest couple laps we've had today. As I say that, we almost had a wreck right in front of us. Had to check up middle of the straightaway. Craig Biffle and this 113 car get together. We almost had our first caution. We still haven't had a caution-free 100% race. Really thought Texas on Monday was going to be the one, but fortunately, we tangled with Kyle Busch. About 30 or so laps to go in that race. Had a checkup because of something happened to us, not to us, but in front of us on the front stretch at Texas, and I ran into him and caused him to basically right rear hook into the wall, and he ended upside down. Then he got smoked by Aaron Crocker while he was sliding on his lid. It's a hellacious crash. 12 top 5s, 21 top 10, average finish 12, no wins. Ty Gibbs, 7 top 5s. Was it 10? Was that 10 top? 10s. Average finish around 15. I guess it's not as close as I thought. Where did Chase Elliott finish in points that year? I know he made the round of 8, but I don't know where like exactly he finished in points. "21 top 10s. That's a lot, though, for your second season in the Cup Series. Ain't no sophomore slump for him. Maybe he was just cursed being in the 24 car after Gordon stepped out. Put him in the 9 and he starts winning races. All right, 4.4 second lead still. Look at this gaggle of cars. My goodness. Warriors already clinched the most laps led. Still a little less than 120 laps to go. Finished 5th at points, so just one spot out of the championship 4. Well, that's going to be tough to beat your Ty Gibbs. I mean, it's all about being consistent in the playoffs when you don't make the championship 4 as to where your, points finish is going to be. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot of playoff points, so that kind of hurts him. But granted, neither did Chase Elliott at that time, and he still finished 5th, so. Because he didn't win, obviously. And honestly, when you consider who's in the playoffs this year, too, there's a lot of guys Gibbs can easily finish ahead of that he's been outpacing on points all season. I mean, he's already been outpacing a lot of the guys in the playoffs. Logano, Suarez, Cindric, Burton. Like, that's 4 right away. That Suarez, 5. It's 5 drivers, like, right off the rip that I just named that he has been outpacing. I think he's been ahead of Keselowski in points like all season too. So I mean, even if they kind of go toe to toe, and he's dipped in performance a little bit the later the summer has gone on. So he definitely could get a top. I think he will get a top 10 points finish. How many more spots is he going to gain than that? He's been better than Truex through the summer, even though, their performance has been roughly the same. I think he's been a little bit better than Truex. When his engine hasn't failed, it seems like he's finishing more races, not making as many mistakes. So, maybe he could beat him in points. Thanks for tuning in, Mark. Consider Jimmy Johnson about to go a lap down. An 8-second lead built up now. When did we get that big of a lead? I thought it was like 4 seconds still. Just looked up randomly and it was 8 seconds. Maybe we can lap the field. We still got 100 to go. Heading for the NFL tomorrow. Yeah, and your Chiefs play tomorrow, too. Packers playing on Friday. I like that the Packers are playing Friday this week. There's no racing on Friday. I can literally watch the whole game uninterrupted. Unfortunately, my Michigan Wolverines Saturday afternoon, I will barely catch any of that game. I'll catch the first, like, half hour, and then there's Cup qualifying, and then I'll probably be able to catch about another hour. Probably, like, third quarter into early fourth, if I had to guess, and then, I'm definitely going to, unless it's a really quick game and it's done before 3, which probably won't be the case, I'll definitely miss the finish. So that is when Xfinity Series racing will be going on at Atlanta. Plus there's a rain delay. The one time I actually hope that there's rain for a NASCAR race. I don't want a long one. It's just like an hour rain delay to get me to watch the rest of the Michigan game, and then we can start it at 4 instead of 3. I don't think it's that bad. It might be a blowout by that point anyway. If Michigan plays the way they did last week, might not even matter. .7-second lead, largest of the race for Clint Boyer. Harvick getting bumped and ran out of the way. Danny O'Quinn Jr. just went a lap down. I'm not sure if that's the first lap Harvick has lost or not. Halfway out of gas this point in the run, 10-second lead. Elliott had 4 runner-ups in the playoffs. That's insane. I didn't realize that. 4 runner-ups in the last 10 races. Well, I mean, no wonder he finished 5th in points. And that's not even counting the Martinsville race. And Denny got into him. All right, well, 90 laps remain. There's Tony Stewart, who's probably the second place car. Not that 33 car, that one's Ron Hornaday. The next one, that red car, the Old Spice car, that's Tony Stewart. Boyer looking to lap the field. Stewart has not won a race this season, but he's led in points from the 3rd race to where we are now, which is race number 8. Finishes 2nd, he's still going to have around a 100-point lead over Clint Boyer without a win. That's how consistent he's been this season. He's been Chase Elliott playoffs 2017 consistent. Literally not winning a race, doing everything but. That's when Denny became the new NASCAR villain. I feel like people weren't like... People obviously, you know, were hating on Denny at that time. A lot of Chase fans were. I don't think people were hating on Denny as much at that point as what they have been the last few years. Like, I don't remember him getting that many boos at the track when I was first going to races. In the late, you know, 2010s, 2020. Well, obviously 2020 there wasn't a lot of anything. Crowd interaction-wise. I feel like from his Dago in 2021. Oh, no, that was 2020. Yeah, I guess about from like then on. That's when I started to notice the Denny hatred at the track. I got booed before, maybe. I could be getting booed like every weekend during my live commentary stream. You guys booing me like, oh, I messed that guy's name up randomly at lap like 251 of 400. That's not turn 1, that's turn 3. Why does everyone hate Denny? It's literally just because of Chase Elliott. Like that, I kid you not, that is literally the only reason. I think it's the only reason NASCAR fans hate him is because Chase Elliott, and he happens to own a team that Bubba Wallace drives for. That's literally the only reason that I think people hate Denny Hamlin. Well, he drives a Toyota too, so I guess there's that. Those are the three things. The Chase Elliott thing literally happened 7 years ago. Hard to believe it's been that long already, but it literally happened 7 years ago. So if you're still upset about that, it was literally a one-time deal. And if anything, Chase got back at him for right hooking him last year at the 600. So, you know, by my recollection, they're even now. Obviously, him getting into Larson, I don't think has helped it. He did have his run-ins with Larson. I didn't really touch on that at all. Larson's beloved by the fans. You know, pure racing fans, NASCAR fans, whatever, you have it. Larson's beloved by, like, pretty much everybody universally. If you're an American motorsports fan, you pretty much like Kyle Larson. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can like open wheel racing, you can like dirt racing, you can like NASCAR. A lot of people like Kyle Larson. He's the most beloved race car driver in America today. I know Chase Elliott's the most popular driver in NASCAR, but I'm talking like race car driver in America, motorsports wide. I think he's universally praised and has every right to be up in that discussion. So I guess there's that to throw in there too if you want to look at like more recent stuff. You know, him, walling Ross Chastain that first time at Pocono, I don't see anything wrong with that when you consider the fact that Chastain got into him, like 3 or 4 times before Denny finally fired back, so. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, he races clean. Literally, the only times I can think of Denny Hamlin not racing cleanly is the contact he had with Larson on multiple occasions in the last, like, calendar year and a half or so. Like, those are the only times I can literally think of Hamlin not racing cleanly with anybody. I mean, look at the feud he had with Joey Logano way back when. I feel like that was more Logano kind of wrecking him. Like, they were racing hard with one another, but a little bump and run here. Logano breaks his back at Auto Club and said he wouldn't do anything different in his post-race interview. As a man's getting transported to the hospital. Well, I mean, I think a lot of it, I mean, Larson, honestly, I think he went above and beyond, off the track, trying to, fix his wrong that he had in that situation. Like, he did a lot of stuff out there that he probably didn't have to do to still get reinstated by NASCAR. So you can definitely tell that he came from a genuine place in that. But yeah, to doing that, and now he drives for Hendrick Motorsports, which, let's be honest, like, a lot of NASCAR fans, you know, they either despise or love Hendrick Motorsports, so there's that. And the only people that really despise Hendrick Motorsports, I feel like, are DEI purists from back in the day. And they had the rivals with each other, and that bridge kind of got amended when Dale Jr. raced for them in the back half of his Cup career, so not a lot to be said about that anymore, I guess. Nope, no yellows. Still caution free. We still got one more round of pit stops left. Not sure when they're going to take place exactly. I'd imagine right around 30 laps left, we'll start to see cars hit the pits. Still got to hope we don't get a caution at that point. Good news is we have a one-lap lead on the field, though. Hoping if we do get a caution, it's before the pit stops. But I'm all for keeping this thing green. Probably wore out from yesterday. You said you were moving a bunch of stuff yesterday. Or was that 2 days ago? Probably both days. That Larson did have quite a few fans, even, you know, when he raced at Ganassi, too. It's just exploded even more now that he's winning more, I feel like. But there were a lot of dirt racing fans that, you know, liked him way before that, obviously, too. We talk about Larson and his fandom. A little bit more clean air. As clean of air as you can have on this racetrack. A couple laps of it here with Clint Boyer. Still not taking a field pass yet in this race. We're down under 50 laps to go. I kind of want to wait until everybody pits. Yeah, we'll just do it now. Swap to Jeff Burton in the 21 first. Jeff Burton's 8 laps down in 32nd. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize I passed him that many times already. And he is not pitted yet either, so that's legit. That's insane. Wonder if any of these passes are ever going to be for position for this 21 car. Oh, we got somebody blowing up. Reed Sorensen in the 41 car is just blowing an engine. Oh, Boyer pitting. All right, so Clint Boyer on pit road. He'll be the first car to pit. And, oh my gosh, what happened to Kevin Harvick? We got a caution. Whoa! Upside down at Dodge Raceway. We don't know how that happened, but it looked terrible. And the caution is out while Clint Boyer was on pit road. I don't know where that's going to put him. I would imagine everybody else going to come into the pits here. That's as violent of a crash as you're ever going to see on a quarter-mile short track. What the heck was that? We panned to him and he was just upside down. And somehow he's still in the race. I mean, look at all the damage. His roof is like about to come apart. Poor Harvick. He's still okay because he's driving the car. I mean, we're not even going that fast. I don't even know how that happened. It's going to be a lengthy stop here for repairs, I would imagine. Wow. What was that estimated pit stop time? Like 21 seconds? There's a lot of damage. Wow. Well, we still don't have a caution-free race this season. Harvick is in 16th. He flipped. He's still in the race. He is 16th. And we've got around 31 laps to go, considering Harvick's 4 laps down in 16th. Aaron Crocker leads this race now. Broken wrist. It's more than a wrist. He's going to be in one of those body casts. He's going to be in one of those wheelchair body casts like Squidward from that episode of SpongeBob, or the Firmly Grasp It episode. That's going to be Kevin Harvick for the next several weeks. Not going to be able to talk. He's going to have to eat through a straw. Must be the first car 4 laps down, because all these cars we passed were not for position. We're going to swap back to Boyer at the start-finish line this time by. I mean, he might not even be on the lead lap. It's tough to tell for sure. I mean, Boyer, well, he's still in the lead lap. 3rd place is where the 2-car runs right now. Well, obviously, I mean, this race was sealed until a caution at the wrong time. And again, it's always late in the race. Like, we go caution-free for an absurd amount of time, and then we get to like 20 to 30 laps left and we get a yellow. I swear this has happened like across all 3 series the entire season. It's literally every series does this. We just go green for an absurd amount of time to start the race, and it looks like it's going to go caution-free. We make our final pit stop, and then a caution comes out. And Aaron Crocker is leading at Dodge Raceway all of a sudden with like 22 to go. Trying to get by Tony Stewart for 2nd here. He's trapped behind Harvick and Hans Good. Couple of lap cars in front of him. 3 wide. Boyer not going to waste any time. Gets by Stewart for 2nd. $20 to go. Crocker will catch lap traffic before the end of this race. Crocker trying to win her first career Busch Series race. Boyer about a second off the race lead. Really gapped Stewart quite a bit that last lap. It's all going to be about who can navigate through the lap traffic the quickest. That's who's going to end up winning this thing. Boyer's easily led over 200 laps in this race. Now he's got side-by-side lap traffic right in front of him. That was a terrible time for the lap car to choose, hey, I'm going to try to make a pass right now. I have to just kind of follow him through this. Boyer overdrove the corner a little bit. Crocker's getting through the lap traffic really well. For the most part, it seems like they're all staying to the outside of the racetrack, but the hood on that 119 car might fly away. Looks like it's holding on for dear life. I think I hear it flapping around too. Only got 11 laps left. Crocker went up the racetrack a little bit there. 10 to go. Boyer has closed to within a couple car lengths of the race lead. Crocker blocking. Caution came out while we were on pit road, so we gave up our one-lap lead. It was literally the worst time for a yellow. This car's gotten extremely tight all of a sudden when I got behind the 98. Oh, but she ended up going up the track next, and here comes Boyer looking for the lead to the inside. And he's got it. Boyer leads at Dodge Raceway. Oh, now I overdrove the corner. Thought that lap car was going to get underneath me. Oh, he didn't, but the other one did. We're getting ran into. Gotta get back down to the bottom. There we go. Right in front of Aaron Crocker. 3 laps left. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. That 163 just crossed us over. Crocker's stuck on the outside, too. Oh, she hit me. Crocker with the bump and run. Oh, and now she's leaning on us. Boyer trapped on the outside. They're trying to move her back. Little contact. And Crocker's going to win at Dodge Raceway. By 0.06 of a second, Aaron Crocker's the winner. Huh? I mean, the fact we just did this whole thing. I moved her up out of the group. I just didn't get a good drive off. Should have dumped her. I had a chance to. I didn't do it. I could have probably leaned on her more off the exit of the corner. I probably should have just because she moved me twice. She was committed to winning her first race. Shades of Haley Deegan in the K&N series. I'm going to use the chrome horn. Because that's the only way I can win. No, that was a low blow. No, but I didn't have that in the bingo card here tonight. Aaron Crocker wins at the Dodge Raceway. First career win. She was one of 3 cars that, well, we have more than 3. Okay, 4 cars. One of 4 cars that finished on the lead lap in this race. And it was only because of the caution in the middle of green flag stop. So we had a 1-lap lead. Caution comes out while we run pit road for our final stop. Gives Aaron Crocker and Tony Stewart, Kenny Wallace their laps back. And then Aaron Crocker, had the lead on the restart. We were in third. Got the second. Closed in. Took the lead with about, 5 laps to go. And then she used the chrome horn with 2 laps left. Not once, but twice. As Winval would say, Harvick just had to flip his dick off. Oh, jeez. 16th. 4 laps down. Thanks, Kevin. We still don't even know how that happened. We swapped to Harvick and he's upside down. I don't know what part of the track he was on, but he was upside down. That was a weird finish, I'll tell you what. It took the unthinkable to knock us off of a chance at the win, and that's exactly what happened. Second place finish, led 233 of 300 laps. That hurts. Aaron Crocker gets the win. She actually led for 30 laps in this race. She probably led quite a bit earlier in the race when, well, I mean, honestly, considering how few laps we had left on the restart, I guess that was probably about all she led then, was that chunk at the finish. I don't think she led it all earlier in the race. Stanley O'Quinn Jr. led a lot early. I wouldn't be surprised if he led more than 30. Clint Boyer at 233 finishes second. Tony Stewart, unfortunately, the guy we're trying to chase in points. For 1, we didn't get the win with the max points day. For 2, he did lead the lap, led 3 of them, and finished third right behind us. So we're only going to gain 10 points on Stewart. So still over 100 back. Yeah, Danny O'Quinn Jr. led 26 laps. Unfortunately, he did not get a top 10. He finished 2 laps down. And 4 cars finished on the lead lap. Pole sitter Jimmy Johnson finished 3 laps down in 14th. He led the first 2 laps of the race. You had Harvick 16th. Our other teammate Jeff Burton ended up 6 laps down in 24th. And as far as DNFs, we had 3 engine failures. Boris said, who actually led 4 laps early in the race, he was in second when he blew a motor. Finley, and then Reed Sorensen, we did see him blow up late. That was right before that last caution. Total race time, 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 41 seconds with 1 caution to get over 300 laps on a 3rd-mile short track in. Margin of victory, 0.06 of a second. 13 lead changes, just the 1 caution, 98.26 mile per hour average race speed. Plays Jeff Burton to wreck Tony Stewart. No, we're not going to do that. I'd like to, I mean, you could say I won the championship legitimately last season because it was a season-long points format. Him blowing a motor in 2 of the last 3 races while he was up by 300-plus points is just absolutely insane. And then we go on to beat him by 12 points in the season finale. That's wild. Our next Busch race is going to be at Phoenix. Gonna mute. I am muted. Second place. You know what they say? You ain't first or last today. It felt like I finished last. I mean, only because it felt like I won, actually. If we're being honest, it felt like I won the race. It doesn't even feel like I lost. Just because we had a 1-lap lead and everything just happened so quick. It was the worst timing caution we could have possibly had. And then she capitalized off it. She used the old bump and run twice with 2 to go, and yeah, I got beat by a girl. I don't hold a lack of pride for that. I don't know. You could argue I probably could have been more aggressive there at the finish on that last lap. I try not to race like that. But yeah. Oh well. Tony Stewart leads in points. And we'll try to win the Dodge Raceway truck race down the line and make up for it, hopefully. Aaron Crocker's third in points. What a season. Now she's got to win. Even Aaron Crocker's won a race. How has Tony Stewart not won a race yet? He's been over 100 points ahead of the standings for like 3 races in a row. And he still hasn't won 8 races in. He's had the points lead from race 3 now through race 8. I don't know. Mark Martin falls to 5th. Harvick's 8th. Jeff Burton is 17th. Well, that's going to end the stream. We'll be live for a truck race at Dover tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Hope to see you for that. Again, Dover, 6 p.m. Eastern, NASCAR 07 truck race. And hopefully you had a good one. It was an interesting finish. It was like a walk in the park until it wasn't, I guess. We got to stop having late race cautions. Like, what is this? I mean, we go caution free until like 20 to 30 to go. And it's always after the last pit stop. And then, sometimes we hang on and win, and sometimes we don't. I mean, it definitely makes it closer than it needs to be when we do win. And then when we don't, it's like, well, if the caution didn't come out, we easily would have won that race. And I don't know. It's a weird one. It was definitely a weird one. Hopefully you enjoyed this coverage and the Dodge Raceway racetrack. We will still have another race there at some point on NASCAR 07 with the truck series. Not sure where that falls. The fantasy tracks are kind of weird on this game with the actual schedule. They basically take the place of the tracks that they didn't get licensing for. A lot of those standalone, truck and Xfinity races, we won't see it in the Cup Series. But should have been like Austin Dillon. Yeah, I should have just freaking right hooked her into the pit wall on the backstretch on the last. Yeah, I don't even do that in a video game. The fact he did that in real life is just unearthly. Beyond my wildest imagination. All right, that's enough rambling. I'll see you guys tomorrow.